Today, I'd like to share with you an incredibly audacious book. Audacious because it directly points out to you and me that we might very well be the super ignorant people of this era. It's an era of information explosion, of technology, and of artificial intelligence that is constantly developing. Yet, this audacity is backed by research and statistical data. If you wish to surpass yourself, acknowledge your limitations, and are ready to break free from them to make a simple yet fundamental change that will upgrade yourself and your life in this new era, then let's explore today's book, Head in the Cloud by William Bstone. The title, directly translated, means the brain in the clouds. This implies that our minds are often obscured by foggy clouds, hindering our clarity and preventing our progress without us even realizing it. Are you one of the super ignorant people of this era? The author presents a perspective. This is the age when humanity is most lacking in knowledge and understanding. You might be surprised and question this, thinking, this is the golden age of knowledge. People pay more for courses each year than our ancestors learned in a lifetime. How can you say it's the age of least knowledge? It's true that people today have easier access to information, but simultaneously, the quantity and depth of knowledge across various fields are increasing at an astonishing rate. This is an era of knowledge explosion. No individual, no matter how diligent or intelligent, can fully grasp even a narrow field. Furthermore, the certainty of knowledge is gradually fading. Information is constantly updated. What is true today might be false tomorrow. Compared to such a vast and uncertain ocean of knowledge, our learning pace is far too slow, and we are less proactive in seeking or updating our understanding. So, what is the consequence? People in modern society are gradually becoming ignorant and uninformed in a great many areas. According to statistics from September 2010, a survey revealed that 41% of American adults couldn't name the vice president, 20% believed lasers worked by focusing sound waves, and 58% didn't know the author of the epic novel, Moby Dick. 4% even thought it was Stephen King. This demonstrates widespread ignorance in American society. If a similar survey were conducted in Vietnam, the results might not be any more encouraging. The author and his research team conducted a large-scale survey in the U.S. with questions designed to determine if people met the standard of being knowledgeable. Here are a few examples. You can try to see if you know the answers for sure. Where is the cradle of human civilization? Which continent is Egypt part of? Which people first used hieroglyphics? Why is it daytime for us while it's nighttime elsewhere in the world? Why is Pluto called a dwarf planet? What is the significance of the Industrial Revolution? Through what means did Christianity develop and spread to the Near Eastern countries? Why is the heart a special organ? What is a lighthouse signal called when it comes from land? What is the significance of July 4th? This question would be easy for Americans. For Vietnamese people, we'd replace it with, what is the significance of September 2nd? These are some of the most basic general knowledge questions. Some might think they are all easy, but the situation is not that optimistic, as only a small number of people could answer a maximum of 7 out of 10 questions correctly. However, many people immediately object, claiming this knowledge has no practical use and can easily be looked up on Google. What's the big deal about remembering it or not? If you think this way, there's a high probability you're falling into what's called the Google Effect, a psychological phenomenon where people rely heavily on online search engines. Knowing that information can be easily found on the internet, they tend not to commit it to memory. It's true that with a few clicks, we can now look up anything we need, but we must understand that knowledge has a hierarchy. One layer builds upon another. Without foundational knowledge, you cannot grasp higher-level concepts. Even if you look them up, you won't fully comprehend them. Moreover, in daily life, you have to make countless decisions, big and small. Each choice requires understanding to assess and judge wisely. Without fundamental knowledge, even with the internet, you won't be able to recognize your own mistakes. The book gives an example. Many scientists today suggest that gluten can lead to diabetes. Consequently, brands focus their advertising on emphasizing that their products are gluten-free. Now, imagine 2 bags of potato chips in front of you, one labeled gluten-free at a higher price and one with no such label. Which one would you choose? Most people would choose the gluten-free bag because they've looked online and found that gluten-free products are good for health. Yet, this is a misguided choice due to a lack of understanding. Gluten naturally doesn't exist in potatoes, it's only found in wheat and barley. More critically, something we often overlook is that much knowledge cannot be found online. Because if you lack comprehensive foundational knowledge, you wouldn't even know it exists, so how would you know what keywords to search for? The author calls this emptiness in the brain superignorance. Superignorance means not knowing that you don't know, or in other words, being unaware of your own lack of knowledge. Someone stuck in a state of superignorance for too long will fall victim to the Dunning-Kruger effect. This is a behavioral paradox, meaning that those with the least competence often make the most inaccurate self-assessments of their abilities. There was a study where a large number of students were asked to grade their own exams. The results showed that the high-scoring group accurately predicted their results, even humbly underestimating their scores, whereas the lowest-scoring group self-assigned unusually high grades. You can observe similar patterns in everyday life. For example, many drivers with poor skills are often the ones most confident that they are excellent drivers. This isn't mere arrogance. Rather, behind this behavior is the consequence of falling into the Dunning-Kruger effect due to superignorance. An empty mind, lacking the tools for self-assessment, leads to self-delusion and faulty judgments. When you fall into this effect, you also become susceptible to manipulation by a phenomenon known as memes or cultural genes. This means you get trapped in a fixed cultural pattern, controlled and obscured from recognizing your true state of being within that cultural taste. From there, you easily become complacent, deciding that your current environment and self are good enough, and there's no need for further improvement. Precisely because of superignorance compounded by complacency, people tend to rationalize their lack of knowledge. The author calls this rationalized ignorance, justifying one's lack of understanding. One of the clearest manifestations of rationalized ignorance is the tendency to believe that it's unnecessary to learn or understand certain knowledge if the cost outweighs the perceived benefits. The cost here could be time, effort, or resources, and the benefits are often measured primarily in monetary terms. For example, when I was in school, I often heard many adults say that only excelling in math, physics, and chemistry would lead to financial success later in life. Studying literature, history, and geography was considered useless for making money, and they discouraged their children from pursuing it. Even now, many people assert that studying poetry, literature, or art is a waste of time. Or many only read self-help books, success guides, or wealth-building manuals, dismissing theoretical books, novels, or philosophy as not providing much benefit. Because of these beliefs, the saying, "One trade mastered is better than 9 trades half-learned," has deeply ingrained itself into the societal subconscious. But is this truly the case? To answer this question, the author conducted numerous surveys and studies to investigate whether people truly need to acquire broad, foundational knowledge, and if so, how it affects their quality of life, work, and thinking. The results show that in an era where knowledge can be easily looked up, well-rounded individuals with general knowledge in fields like literature, history, geography, encyclopedic facts, culture, finance, or sports tend to live richer, healthier, and happier lives. Why is it essential to upgrade your comprehensive foundational knowledge? In reality, people lacking general knowledge often face greater economic difficulties. Researchers selected a large group of 35-year-olds, all with equivalent university degrees. These individuals participated in answering questions across various fields. The group that answered many questions incorrectly had an average income of about $40,000 per year. In contrast, those who answered all questions correctly earned $95,000 per year. A substantial difference, 2.1 times higher, almost $55,000. Why such a large disparity? The main reason is that people with strong general knowledge share a common characteristic: curiosity and a love for exploration. This curiosity drives them to seek understanding in many fields, which often leads them to find opportunities to increase their income, while also being more capable of performing well at work. As their income rises, they have the means to expand their knowledge further. This creates a positive cycle of continuous learning. Secondly, when an individual lacks sufficient inner knowledge, they also distance themselves from a happy life. Happiness is linked to income. This is a finding from research by Daniel Kahneman, the Nobel Prize-winning psychologist. He indicated that Americans experience the highest level of happiness with an income of $75,000 per year. If income increases too much beyond that, the level of happiness doesn't decrease, perhaps even slightly lessens. However, those with excessively low incomes undeniably face a life filled with worries. As the survey above showed, those with broad knowledge earning $95,000 per year are capable of maintaining their happiness levels. Conversely, those lacking foundational knowledge with an income of only about $40,000 per year confront a life full of pressure and insecurity. As the old saying goes, poverty constrains wisdom, and extreme poverty breeds crime. Indeed, it's not wrong. Another study demonstrates that a person who is overly ignorant will more easily act against their conscience to become wealthy. The survey posed a question: if there was a button that could turn you into a billionaire, but it would randomly kill a stranger without anyone ever knowing you were responsible, would you press it? This might seem absurd, but in life, there's a principle called the 1-5 rule, meaning that no matter how unreasonable, 20% of people will agree or comply. In fact, statistics showed that 20% of those surveyed chose to press the button, and these were precisely the individuals who scored low on the general knowledge test. Thirdly, people with solid general knowledge tend to have better health because they understand common biological health information, such as the link between H. pylori bacteria and stomach ulcers, what carbohydrates are, or how gluten affects the body. As a result, they are not easily swayed or confused by the constantly changing waves of health information online today. Instead, they know how to choose scientific and appropriate healthcare methods for their personal condition. And finally, a very crucial point we must confront. A lack of knowledge doesn't just affect your personal life. It also negatively impacts others, the community, and even the world. The author conducted a survey comprising 16 general knowledge questions, 2 of which were related to the location of Ukraine. Following these knowledge questions was a policy question: do you agree with building a wall at the border to prevent illegal immigration? The results showed that the more questions people answered correctly, the more they opposed building the wall. Conversely, those who couldn't locate Ukraine on a map tended to agree with blocking homeless, destitute people. The truth is, a lack of knowledge, especially in geography, history, and social studies, directly influences a person's political views and policy decisions. Many people are unaware of their knowledge-blind spots, not knowing the extent of their ignorance, yet still confidently express their opinions and cast their votes. This inadvertently leads to misguided choices that have long-lasting effects on shaping the future of a nation and even the world. Even more critically, in an age where anyone can hide behind a keyboard and exercise freedom of speech, the ignorance of many can inadvertently ruin a person's life. In 2015, comedian Jay Branscombe posted a behind-the-scenes photo of renowned director Steven Spielberg during the filming of Jurassic Park on Facebook. In the picture, the director was sitting next to a Triceratops prop. The photo was accompanied by a caption: "A trophy hunter happily posing next to his latest kill. Share this so the world can shame this despicable person." Unexpectedly, the post quickly garnered over 30,000 shares worldwide and tens of thousands of furious comments. How could a famous director hunt and kill a Triceratops? You might laugh at such absurdity. Dinosaurs went extinct ages ago, so how could they attack someone like that? Yet this is a stark reality of super-ignorance. Many people didn't understand what Triceratops meant, nor did they recognize the use of technology in the image, instead believing the director had killed some strange-looking animal. This is just one example among countless instances where people don't know what they don't know about the veracity of online information. Anything you utter in your ignorance can gravely impact the mental well-being of others and yourself. This is the detrimental effect of global ignorance in today's era of technological and information explosion. So, what's the core way to break free from super-ignorance? The most fundamental approach to overcoming super-ignorance and building a broad knowledge base that leads to a wiser and happier life is to start by grasping knowledge clues. Deep learning and building systematic knowledge in a specific field are important, but that's not the central focus of this book. Its core lies in audacious advice for us: learn in a more complex, diverse way. Even if you only half know each thing, that's okay. This might sound strange, but it makes perfect sense for us in the current era. Because learning in the past was about dealing with what was known, whereas learning today is about preparing for the unknown. Each person will face unique problems for which no one knows the answers beforehand. If in the past, learning was for exams, now the best way to learn is like a detective solving a case. As a detective, you would never overlook any clues. These clues, no matter how small, become invaluable and help you crack the case. The more different perspectives you have, the more you can escape mental blind spots and easily open new directions. The more knowledge clues you have in your mind, the better. You'll be able to follow those clues, continue researching online to solve problems, and use them as keys to unlock new knowledge. Anyone who understands this will choose a truly groundbreaking way of learning, serving as a stepping stone for their exponential growth in the digital age. The author advises that for each field, we should grasp at least 15 to 20 foundational concepts. For instance, in finance, you could learn about inflation, compound interest. In science, concepts like entropy, gravity. In history, World War II, the Cold War. In psychology, perhaps herd mentality, inferiority complex, and so on. In health and medicine, understand what antibiotics are or the concept of yin and yang balance. These concepts are the clues that help you search. Only by having these clues can you effectively utilize search tools, specialized books, and academic articles. Without foundational concepts, information becomes fragmented pieces, difficult to connect, and often misinterpreted due to a lack of context. Additionally, you can accumulate more knowledge clues by connecting with skilled individuals in various fields. This connection doesn't necessarily mean trying to become close friends with them. Simply maintaining a loose connection or following them on online platforms is enough. When facing difficulties, competent individuals often know exactly who they need to learn from, who possesses important clues. This is also how they quickly obtain useful information or solutions for themselves. Conversely, those lacking competence often fall into confusion, fumbling and searching for answers in a deadlock. Next, here's step number 2 to break free from superignorance. Don't just browse, remember. As mentioned earlier, the prevalent Google effect today will make you prone to quickly forgetting information that's easily found online. A classic case of falling into the Google effect is remembering by taking photos. Many students like to photograph their teachers' lecture slides because they often feel a sense of security, thinking they'll review them later. They might even feel they don't need to listen carefully since it's already saved on their phone. But check your phone. How many slide photos have you never looked at again? The most effective method is not to snap photos hastily. Instead, focus on listening attentively and keeping up with the teacher's lecture. Even handwritten notes are more effective than taking pictures. The same applies to enhancing your understanding. We shouldn't just search for clues, we must actively pay attention and commit them to memory. If you stop at just searching, you'll remain dependent on technology. Use tools as an extension of your brain, but don't let them dictate your memory. For example, after searching, you can take notes, then rephrase definitions or knowledge points in your own words and review them periodically. At that point, you won't just know what the knowledge is, you'll understand the essence of many issues, and most importantly, you'll be able to react instantly when needed. Another equally important way to break free from superignorance is to develop language proficiency. The book cites research showing that individuals who pronounce words correctly and have no spelling errors often earn higher incomes. The most direct method to enhance language proficiency is to improve your usage of words, correct spelling mistakes, and expand your vocabulary through continuously reading various genres, especially literature, or by practicing writing. You could start with daily journaling. This is because language is not only a tool for expression, but also a tool for thinking. The richer and more precise your vocabulary, the easier it is to grasp the essence of a problem. Conversely, someone vague in their speech is often vague in their thoughts. As Einstein once said, if you can't explain it simply, you don't understand it well enough. When your language is accurate and coherent, your thinking and ability to express yourself also become clearer. Finally, after all the advice in this book, what are your thoughts? Some might think that ultimately, the message isn't new. It's still about encouraging continuous learning and developing critical thinking. It's true that many people previously advocated for developing multidimensional thinking. For example, Carol Dweck, famous for her concept of growth mindset, encouraged us to learn diversely to overcome the limitations of a fixed mindset. Or Robert Dilts, an NLP neuro-linguistic programming expert, proposed the 6 logical levels model. Others championed multidisciplinary thinking, and so on. Yet they all share a common principle. To develop multidimensional thinking, one also needs to delve deep. These are excellent methods, but they are not for the masses because they demand a certain foundational knowledge and long-term, persistent practice through continuous reading across various fields and practicing critical thinking. The major difference of this book lies in its universal and accessible approach. The methods presented here are suitable for everyone, whether your foundational knowledge is weak or strong, whether you have a university degree or not. With just a digital device and a search engine or AI, you can self-update your general knowledge. These methods don't require in-depth study. Even shallow learning is acceptable, but it allows you to accumulate diverse and valuable knowledge clues. They guide you to explore more knowledge online, to critically verify this information, and most importantly, they will ignite the fire of curiosity within you. If your knowledge is not yet solid, integrating and connecting diverse knowledge clues will become a life-changing learning method. If you are already an expert in a particular field, continuously expanding your understanding across various domains will help you break free from entrenched thinking, broaden your expertise, seize new opportunities, and enhance your quality of life. The author of this book himself is the most vivid testament to the journey from ordinary to brilliant. Though over 60 years old, he persists on his path of lifelong learning. He originally specialized in physics at MIT, but later expanded into many other fields such as mathematics, sociology, management, political science, and even literature. The author has also written over 14 books with diverse themes and styles. Each book deeply resonates with readers, and he is known as a best-selling king of profound thought, having been nominated twice for the Pulitzer Prize. I hope that today's shared content will instill in you an endless source of inspiration for learning. May your path towards intellectual abundance be bright and sunny, leading you to live more wisely, prosperously, and freely. Leverage the advancements in technology and artificial intelligence to master your own mind, rather than being shackled by digital algorithms, herd mentality, or the desire for wealth. Learn a little more each day, understand a little more. Though seemingly small, when accumulated, this will create a compound effect that completely transforms you. And your simple steps can also contribute to empowering and dismantling the global wall of ignorance from its roots.